1935, Heinrich Himmler, Reichsfuhrer SS and Hitler's right hand, founded a strange new institute, the Ahnenerbe, literally, ancestral heritage. Ostensibly a research society, it was in fact a pseudoscientific SS department dedicated to Nazi racial theory. Himmler told his staff that their one mission was to project into the dim and distant past the picture of our nation as we envisage it. In practice, the Ahnenerbe recruited archaeologists, botanists, and anthropologists to find evidence that Aryans, the Nazi master race, had invented civilization. Expeditions were organized, ancient sites excavated, and even museum exhibits looted to advance Nazi ideology. Among Ahnenerbe's pet projects was the search for legendary relics. Himmler adapted the medieval Holy Grail myth to suit the SS, even dedicating a Grail room in Wewelsburg Castle with a crystal placed like a worshipped relic. Indiana Jones may be fiction, but as one historian notes, Spielberg's version had a basis in reality. Real SS men did go hunting for the Ark of the Covenant, the Grail, and other ancient Wunderwaffen. Himmler famously admired Wagner's Grail operas, Parsifal and Lohengrin. But behind all the suspense and ritual, the Ahnenerbe's real purpose was propaganda. Its researchers interpreted evidence to fit Hitler's beliefs, and many consciously fabricated evidence to do so. The Nazis then used these pseudo-studies to justify expansion and even genocide. The expeditions, chasing Aryan ancestors, driven by myth and paranoia, SS scientists fanned out across the globe. One famous case, in 1938-39, an Ahnenerbe-sponsored team under SS zoologist Ernst Schaefer traversed the Himalayas. They claimed to test theories that Aryans once ruled Tibet and to see if the Nordic race had spread east. Over 8 months, they filmed Lhasa's palaces and Tibetan rituals and were formally welcomed by local leaders. Along the way, they collected anything of interest: Tibetan grain seeds for Nazi farms, rare animal specimens, and even living wolves, all sent to SS research farms back in Europe. The SS anthropologist Bruno Beger recorded measurements from hundreds of Tibetans and took plaster casts of heads and faces in hopes of finding Aryan skull shapes. According to declassified U.S. interrogation notes, the expedition even met a pro-German regent in one Tibetan city and discussed arming Tibet against the British. When they returned, Schaefer presented Emperor Hitler with a lama's hunting dog, a Buddhist monk's robe, and most mysteriously, a Tibetan canon, a 120-volume Kangyur, the Tibetan Bible. This sacred text may have seemed a trophy, but Himmler's true prize was hidden knowledge, any proof, however flimsy, that his Aryan fantasies were real. Other Nazi expeditions had similar goals. The SS dispatched teams to Greenland, Norway, the Caucasus, and even Antarctica. In 1938-39, Germany sent the New Schwabenland, New Swabia, Antarctic expedition under Alfred Richer. Aircraft flew swastika-shaped ice patterns, and the men claimed territories in the polar south. The stated goal was geographical research, but underground rumors spoke of searching ancient Aryan homelands or sunken continents. Closer to home, Ahnenerbe archaeologists dug across Europe, from caves in Franconia to Iron Age forts in Poland, always looking for sites of our ancestors. Every dig was thrown as a political spear. Finds at Biskupin or Externstein were spun into proof that Slavic lands were once Aryan conquests, or that Germans were heirs to a glorious pagan past. But in many cases, the evidence was thin or simply forged. After the war, trials revealed that Ahnenerbe teams had even performed gruesome human experiments at Dachau, all to collect data for race scientists. A sober reminder that their mysteries were backed by Nazi brutality. High in Westphalia stands Wewelsburg Castle, a medieval fort beneath stormy skies. In 1933, Himmler chose this ruin as the SS's ideological stronghold, based on the mystical visions of his occult advisor Karl Maria Williget. Himmler poured state money into renovating Wewelsburg as an SS leadership school and a cult center. One tower's ground floor was carved into the gruft or crypt, a vaulted chamber envisioned as a shrine. Inside, a giant concrete dome sealed a ceremonial space. At its apex still sits a faint swastika, cast in the stone. Rumors said Himmler planned an eternal flame in the center, flanked by 12 pedestals, as if a new round table of SS knights would gather here. Some told of Himmler believing himself the reincarnation of King Heinrich I, founder of Germany. Supposedly, he even intended to be buried in this Himmler crypt one day. None of that is proven, but the intent was clear. Wewelsburg's North Tower was designed as the mystical Mittelpunkt der Welt, the center of the world, for a Nazi mythos. Upstairs is the Obergruppenvorsal, the assemble hall of 12 columns. In its marbled floor, the SS inlaid a dark green sunwheel pattern. This so-called Schwarze Sonne, or Black Sun mosaic, a runic sunwheel based on swastikas, marks the hall's center. According to SS documents, the round golden disc at the mosaic's hub was meant to symbolize the heart of a future Germanic world empire under Nazi rule. The columns and windows were arranged to flood this sun symbol with light from the hall's high windows. Modern scholars say the SS never engraved any special name in their files. They just built it. Nazi propaganda of the day avoided occult claims, but SS folklore later called this the Black Sun and tied it to ancient Germanic sun worship. In effect, Himmler and his architects used every Gothic arch and rune-emblazoned wall to conjure a legendary past. One SS report dubbed one room Grail and even renamed others King Arthur and Runes. It was all to train SS leaders in an imagined pagan destiny. But when American tanks neared in 1945, these ceremonies abruptly ended. The SS blew up parts of the castle and set it ablaze, hoping to erase traces of what had happened within. Himmler himself was the architect of this twisted mythos, a student of the occult. He loved Nordic lore and ancient runes. He met esoteric figures like Hermann Wirth, who claimed an Aryan religion older than Christianity. Himmler believed that after the war, the old Germanic gods will be restored and that the SS would lead a new pagan order. In SS ceremonial rituals, in feasts at Wewelsburg, or at cultic gatherings in Berchtesgaden, men wore runic amulets and heirlooms. The regime was public about science, but Hitler and Himmler quietly endorsed folklore. For example, after a 1939 bomb plot, Joseph Goebbels boasted to Hitler that astrology had saved them. Swiss astrologer Karl Kraft had predicted a threat in early November 1939. Hitler was intrigued. Himmler, who was building his personal occult library of astrological charts, agreed that these predictions had value. From then on, Hitler began consulting Kraft's horoscopes for strategy. Though military planners say Barbarossa's timing was based on season, not stars, Nazi propagandists even planted fake horoscopes to confuse spies. The key point: the SS allowed superstitious trappings, so long as they served the Reich. But official doctrine always insisted blood and soil over mystic cults. When it came to war, Hitler publicly portrayed himself as a rational leader. Yet Hitler knew the value of symbols, and Himmler ensured every victory claim echoed epic myth. On June 22, 1941, Hitler unleashed Operation Barbarossa, the largest land invasion in history, against the Soviet Union. The code name invoked Emperor Frederick Barbarossa from the Crusades, a deliberate symbol of a Germanic crusade against Bolshevism. Soviet archives show that even after Barbarossa began, Ahnenerbe archaeologists pushed east with the army. They grabbed folklore books and looted churches, hoping to stamp Germanic legends on conquered territories. Some SS officers swore oaths invoking Odin as they marched, but concrete evidence that Hitler himself performed dark rituals for Barbarossa is thin. What we do know is that Hitler's astrologers remained active. As war loomed in 1941, the Führer still carried Kraft's horoscopes and ordered SS occultists to research Celtic and Slavic myths. Some post-war scholars argue the Nazis timed launches, summer solstice, etc., to fit Aryan myth, but most agree Barbarossa was driven by military calculus. The occult overlay, runic banners raised on the Eastern Front, was mostly propaganda. In Hitler's mind, it was a righteous war. In ours, it was Barbarossa, a ghastly campaign. That name alone echoes the dark medieval legends the SS so desperately wanted to recapture. In the final chapters of the war, rumors swirled of one last Nazi superweapon, Die Glocke, the bell. Allegedly, a bell-shaped machine powered by mercury and radiation, it was said to bend gravity or even time. Today, we know the story is almost certainly legend. The first mention of Die Glocke appeared not in wartime dossiers, but in a 1960 occult book, Morning of the Magicians, and later in a fringe 2000 Polish book on Wunderwaffen. 31. No Allied intelligence report, captured document, or witness testimony has verified such a device. A 2023 Popular Mechanics investigation flatly concluded the Nazi bell is pure fiction, a post-war hoax that capitalized on the myth of German tech prowess. 32. Even SS archives, seized in 1945, have no schematic for any bell-shaped machine. What we do have are files on real secret weapons, rockets, jets, missiles, but none describe anti-gravity flights. One surviving SS memo mentions Dr. Hans Kammler, an SS weapons chief, but it simply shows he vanished in 1945, not that he traded Nazi UFO tech to the Americans. In short, Die Glocke exists only in sensational books and conspiracy forums. The U.S. attributing a 1965 UFO crash, Kecksburg, to Nazi experiments is pure speculation. NASA confirms it was a Soviet probe re-entry. So while the Nazis chased many tall tales, this one has no proof. It remains an eerie legend of the occult Nazi dossier, a convenient myth when facts have dried up. As the Third Reich fell in 1945, many physical traces of its occult projects vanished in smoke and flame. In March 1945, Himmler ordered the partial demolition of Wewelsburg to prevent its capture. His SS scientists and archivists destroyed millions of documents as Allies closed in. Ahnenerbe's staff burned much of the organization's paperwork to hide their crimes. Few surviving pages exist: a burnt diary fragment, interrogation transcripts, a handful of filmed lectures. Historians piecing together Nazi occultism must rely on what survived: eyewitness testimony, captured SS records, and careful cross-checking of Soviet and Allied archives. From these, we know more than sensationalists admit. The SS did murder innocents in the name of esoteric research, and high Nazis did cultivate myths of ancient gods. But other alleged secrets, missing UFOs, reverse-engineered magic, remain unproven. In the end, the Nazi occult file is both real and a legend. We have documented evidence of Ahnenerbe digs, Wewelsburg's cult rooms, and Himmler's grand delusions. We also have sensational rumors with no basis beyond hearsay. For example, interrogations from 1946 record SS officers describing some ceremonies, but none mention time machines or demon worship. Even Wewelsburg experts caution, as far as we can tell, nothing mystical happened that we can prove. Yet, the castle feels haunted by its history. As one scholar put it, many Nazi occult stories detract from history. 32. Tonight the black sun still graces Wewelsburg's floor. The crypt's empty vault is frozen in time. The files on Hitler's paranormal experiments are fragmented. Some pages charred, others melted in icy war winds. What truly happened behind closed SS doors? Only the legends offer hints. The 12 Nights of Wewelsburg, an eternal flame that never burned. Whispers of Wagnerian grails, and a Nazi who prayed to old gods. These echoes are chilling precisely because they are incomplete. The real crimes of Nazi pseudoscience are horrific enough, but the unanswered questions ensure the story won't let us go. In the end, maybe that is how Hitler would have wanted it. A mystery hath in shadow, still haunting us 80 years later.